What is going on, everybody? It is episode 810 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again with the returning co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Returning champion.
Yep.
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary, obviously, by the sound of my voice. I'm still recovering from a plague that afflicted me for the last few days. But it's fine. I'm back, and I'm a little out of the swing of things. But before we introduce Phil, we have a 20. Happy Thrashing Thursday, Brett, Mary, and Phil. Glad to see you are back and better, Mary. Not exactly. Close enough. I do have one question since you've been gone. Are there Catholic churches in the GONGO, or do you need a dispensation
That
for
is
missing
Shane H.
mass?
Wilder, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, you didn't say it, but I still knew it was Shane.
Yes. Sorry about that, Shane.
Hi, Shane.
Yeah, I don't think there are any Catholic churches in the GONGO, but we're going to need to organize a mission trip to go construct one for them. Hopefully within the next year. Yeah, that'll happen.
Well, I said you were probably already there. I said that might have been where she was traveling.
The proceeds that come from you buying the GONGO merch will actually fund the construction of the first church in the GONGO.
It's like whenever like some celebrity ponies up money for a school, you just know it's money laundering.
Exactly.
Phil's with us today.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary, and I'm also excited to join the mission to the GONGO.
Yep, exactly. We got a bunch of stuff to get into today, guys, but before we get started, as always, hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. If you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already, please and thank you.
Can you imagine what it's like being new here in the whole like first bit? We're talking about this place called the GONGO.
And you're just like,
what the hell are you talking about?
They're like the Congo? That's a place? And you're like, yeah, but it's not that. It's the Congo.
No, it's a secret third thing.
Correct.
It's not Gaza. It's not the Congo. It's a secret third thing.
Exactly. Hit the like button on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Remember to share the videos out with your friends and your family and your loved ones, everybody that you know. The more people that you share the content with, the faster channels like this grow. It is the best way to help us, as well as going and getting merch. GONGO merch.
What did I miss?
I already forgot all of it.
You don't know what happened?
Yes, okay, so I Thursday and Friday might as well have been 2 decades ago.
Oh, okay.
But yesterday I did videos on the hypocrisy of Canadian celebrities and their hatred of Donald Trump with all of the people. Michael Bublé did like a thing.
Oh my gosh, he's Canadian?
He's Canadian.
Since when?
But I also drew it back to Mike Myers wearing the Canada's not for sale thing. And like how they're suddenly all very patriotic. And
Mike Myers is Canadian?
And basically I said it's hypocrisy because a lot of Canadian entertainment is not just subsidized by the state, but they have quotas in place to make sure that however much percentage of the art that's being put out on the radio and on television is made by Canadians, starring Canadians. And I unironically think Trump would love that. And I think he would love for America to do that here. I mean, it doesn't really matter because we're a net exporter when it comes to entertainment. But if it wasn't, he would be working to do that. So I did that. I reviewed A Working Man that came out today. I did a video about Ariana DeBose, who starred in West Side Story with Rachel Zegler getting dragged into her drama. And then I don't even remember what the hell me and Kellen did on Monday and Tuesday. Again, might as well be a lifetime ago.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you held down the fort here.
If you had suggested something today that we'd covered, I'd remember it. But otherwise, it's poof. It's gone. It's to history. All right. We got a bunch of stuff to get into today. So last week, we talked about, I think it was last week, we talked about Adolescence, which is currently one of the biggest shows in the world. It is an absolute hit on Netflix. And what's going on right now is...
That's the one That's the one in the at the UK that's all just full of BS.
Yes.
Calling 13-year-olds incels.
Correct.
It's not a complete and total train wreck right off the bat.
So we are going to talk about the way the UK government has gotten involved because they are now streaming this show for kids for free. You don't even have to have a Netflix subscription, and they're taking you 13-year-old boys to classes about teaching you anti-misogyny. So
Holy
we're going to talk about the way that entertainment and government have fused together to create one big narrative that screws each and every one of us. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about these absolute geniuses who are suing OnlyFans because they found out that the women they're talking to on the platform aren't the women that they think they are. These guys are...
Well, they're not women. They're just not even women.
Yeah, so we're going to
I honestly think they wouldn't even have a problem with it if they found out that the messengers on the app were at least female.
They're like, is it like a woman, but she's like not as hot as her?
Right, exactly. But no, it's just a random Indian guy
So
on the other side of the planet.
We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about this viral video that was making the rounds on X about this woman who talks about how she almost divorced her husband because he forgot to unload the dishwasher.
Poor guy. And I mean poor guy because she didn't follow through.
Yeah.
Well,
Sounds like he's in
you
hell.
haven't watched it yet,
Yes,
to my understanding. So I'm excited to see your first reaction to the video.
Well, we will do that. We got a 20 there from Pop Culture Junkie.
From Superman March 26th screening, 60 persons, film 85% done, consensus, home run, positive reactions, crowd loved, David Corn sweats, Superman, Bradley Cooper is Jor-El, applause at the end, someone yelled, Fantastic Four is effed.
Okay, so here's the thing about this stuff. Maybe, and you would know this, Pop Culture Junkie, because you worked in the space, but right now what you're going to see is nothing but endless propaganda from every movie studio about how their movie is the greatest thing ever and everybody cheered. It's literally the everybody and then everybody cheered meme all the way up into the release of it, because shockingly enough, it's bad press for people to be like, yeah, they were like, it was all right. You know, that doesn't exactly get people excited to go see it. I remember when they did like a test screening at Warner Brothers for Batman v Superman, and they were talking about the standing ovation it got, and I was going to make $1 billion, and it certainly did make a lot of money, but not in connection to its budget, and it was critically panned by, you know, the regular critics. So I kind of take everything that these studios say with a grain of salt, though I am looking forward to going to see it. I was also told, or at least I read, that crypto was heavily featured in this test. So it's like, if the dog is in there more than it needs to be, it feels very like, as comic accurate as the dog is, overusing it feels like a tactic. So.
Feels like a Grogu.
Yes, that's exactly what it feels like. So we got a bunch of other stuff to get into. If you guys are ready, we'll just go. Mary, are you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Cheerio. Let's go.
All right, let's get started.
Morgan Wallen made headlines the other day when he made a dramatic exit after his guest appearance on SNL. He had his own little mic drop moment where he, instead of clapping and hugging and shaking hands with the whole cast of SNL, decided to just walk out while the camera was still panning away. And this is what they do after every episode with the jazz band going off. They are panning away from the cast, and everybody
hugs,
cheering and hugging, and he didn't really want to stick around.
What's weird is, like, every week they do this, so these people who work together every week then go and hug each other every week.
It's totally fake.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm sure that Morgan Wallen was getting treated like shit the whole time that he was a guest on the show, because they know that he's, I guess, conservative leaning, or at least his fan base is. They know about his N-word scandal. He's not approved in those social circles, so they were probably treating him badly behind the scenes. They're not really his crowd, just personally. And he hugged one person.
Mikey Madison.
Yeah, he was co-guest starring with Mikey Madison as the musical guest. Mikey Madison was hosting. They had like a quick side hug, and then he just walked off away from camera shot. You can see in this video. Yeah. Then he followed this up by posting a picture of his private plane on Instagram with the caption, "Get me to God's country."
Let's watch.
He couldn't wait to leave New York City.
Who can blame him?
Morgan Wallen. I had a wonderful time. Thank you.
He does kind of have dead eyes right there.
Yeah, he can't wait to get out of there.
He's like, have the credits rolled?
Can I leave yet? Can I leave yet?
He did give her the side hug.
It's the worst side hug. Lethal side hug. And then he's just out.
I'm kind of here for it.
I agree. I think that's actually
then
like
it says,
the coolest
"Get me
thing
to
Morgan
go."
Wallen has done.
Get me to God's country. Yeah, I informed Mary beforehand. Little do people know he was on The Voice in an early season of The Voice. He's probably the most successful of the not of the early days of like singing competitions, but he's kind of become rebranded as the king of country music these days.
Yeah, so that was like a marketing ploy, becoming a country singer.
I don't know. If I remember correctly, he did like Collide by Howie Day when he performed. So he wasn't doing country at that time, but he is undeniably one of the biggest musicians in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I do imagine that like he also turned down the chance to do a like musical comedy skit, and they had Joe Jonas do it instead, because Joe Jonas maybe Joe Jonas is better at laughing.
He
and
didn't want to do
stuff.
any acting on the show, right? He just played music.
Yeah, they rarely do just the musical performance, but I think that he was able to just negotiate his way out of it because he doesn't like these people.
What I liked about it
wasn't there a time when he was on recently and they were 2 years
Morgan
ago or something,
Wallen
there was COVID or something. There was some. This is a re-up of him, and they treated him poorly, if I understand correctly.
If I remember correctly, 2022 or something.
What did they do?
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
But the funny thing about this also is like
I don't care.
I don't remember what the exact details of that story were, and if somebody wants to pull it up, they can. But he's had a history there. But for Morgan Wallen, I would actually argue that they need him more than he needs them, anyways. And orchestrating an Irish goodbye while the camera's on you is kind of diabolical.
I don't think he even planned it out or orchestrated it that way. I don't think it was something that he thought too deeply about, but the fact that they took it so personally and so many people were outraged and offended by it really hit the mark for him. He didn't even need to calculate that part out. One person said, "People are upset at Morgan Wallen here, but have you ever considered leftist theater kids are the worst people on the planet? Like, why would you want to spend one additional minute around them?" I completely understand that.
I mean, I can't speak to the individuals, but look, man, I'm not a fan of New York City personally. It's not my.
I guess I haven't
thing.
spent enough time there to have a take.
I was watching an interview with Samoa Joe. He's like a legendary wrestler today, and he gave this part where he talks about this famous photograph where he's flipping off the crowd. And he goes, "Well, anytime I get a chance to flip off New Yorkers."
Well, then they got Kenan Thompson to weigh in.
If you guys remember, he just vomited all over the floor at like a basketball game recently.
Is he good?
Yeah.
What's his deal? Okay, so here was what he said in an exclusive interview with Entertainment Weekly. "I thought maybe he had to go to the potty or something. I don't know what goes through people's minds when they decide to do stuff like that. I don't know if he understood the assignment or not.
Oh, God,
or if
shut
he
up.
was really feeling a certain kind of way.
Well, then
you
there's
see somebody before you get a chance to say hi or say good job or anything like that. They're just dipping. We're so used to everybody turning around and high-fiving us and everyone's saying good job. So when there's a departure from that, it's like, I wonder what that's about." And then Kenan Thompson's publicist, I'm sure, actually made a deal with Entertainment Weekly where in order to get this quote from him and run it, they had to promote his anti-GERD campaign. This was, I'm telling you, this is actually in the article. Kenan Thompson tells Entertainment Weekly while speaking about his new GERD is no joke campaign with Fathom Pharmaceuticals to raise awareness about the condition and treatment options.
With a pharmaceutical company. I cannot think of anything more repulsive.
The absolute state of journalism.
This is from somebody over at Barstool. This might be maybe the most
Wait, what does it say?
N-word.
Wait, is that real?
No, it's a person's name, and they circled the.
Oh,
they
okay.
circled the name.
Okay.
The quote tweets on this article are actually amazing.
So with his N-word scandal, that was some Ring camera footage.
2021.
In 2021, obviously a much different time.
How did his Ring cam?
No, it was a neighbor's Ring camera caught it and then sold it to TMZ.
Yeah, they published it. Yeah. Because it was a different time. It wasn't that long ago, obviously, but it was a much different time to be exposed for that type of thing.
He did apologize for that and
Yeah.
said he was
shouldn't
sorry.
apologize.
And at that time, society didn't quite understand the assignment, as it were, about what they deem as cancel culture, and that it doesn't matter if you say sorry anyways, they're going to hate you anyways. And they were going to hate him anyways because of the music genre he's a part of. They literally love talking about how country music has gone pop because they like the idea of changing it from what it once was into something
Yes.
else.
Yes.
They don't want it to remain, the genre it was before.
Well, it's safe to say that Morgan Wallen has learned his lesson after apologizing back in 2021, because instead of apologizing this time for offending people, he decided to make money off of it.
Smart guy.
Good
He
for him.
launched a merch line
Yeah.
of that phrase, "Get me to God's country," with some trucker hats and t-shirts available now,
Good
inspired
for him.
by the scandal. I
you
think
know,
that's a boss
the
move.
fact that the fact that they're calling this a scandal
Oh, yeah.
is just shows how incredibly self-aggrandizing the SNL people are. No one cares at all. Shut up.
Yeah, they're incredibly self-important, and they feel like, oh, Morgan Wallen should consider himself lucky
No.
to be
He sells
invited
out
on our
stadiums.
show.
He's a stadium
He
artist.
sells out
He's-
stadiums. The fact that they would even imply this, people are going to take Morgan Wallen's side. Way more people are going to take Morgan Wallen's sides than like the maybe we'll get actually famous people on SNL.
There's
Just
no-
because you're on SNL is no guarantee that you're going to have a career. There are way more people that have been on SNL and not done anything after that than have been on SNL and gone on to have big careers.
That's like, other than Kenan Thompson, who's the biggest star on SNL now? Like, I don't even know.
Other than Kenan Thompson.
He's the only name that I recognize.
Bowen Yang.
Because Kenan Thompson was part of my childhood because he was in the Mighty Ducks movies. Like, that's different. And obviously-
Everyone hates Bowen Yang, but he seems to be the second most relevant
Bowen
SNL
Yang?
He's-
cast member.
Yeah.
Again, it's who's Bowen Yang? That's a
But-
good question, but he is now like the second most talked about.
If you took
have
if you
to
took
guess.
Bowen Yang, or you took Kenan Thompson, or any of the stars of SNL, no matter who they are, and you tried to get them to fill up a stadium for a comedy show the size of the stadiums that Morgan Wallen is doing for music, I'm guessing that they would struggle.
Yeah, definitely.
Struggle. I mean, look, to be honest with you, these people are like theater level.
Yeah.
Right, so maybe they would play like they would go to the same size rooms that All That Remains plays. Like they're not going to go and have like they're not going to do civic centers.
I mean,
They're
I
not
bet
gonna
you-
do
I
the
bet you
same
some of them
places
could
that
do-
Joe Rogan does. They're not going to do the
You don't
same
think they could do
places.
civic centers? Like
No.
with the
No.
the visibility of something
No.
like SNL. I mean, we
Not
don't
at
watch
all.
it, but boomers still watch
But
it.
that's the
and boomers
point.
have
No.
disposable income.
They're not going to do. No, they would do theaters. They'll do 1,000 to 2,000. Actually, not even 1,000 to 2,000, because if you're talking about maybe 1,000 to 2,000 seaters. Which, I mean, look, that's enough to be like, that's a successful career.
What's like
but
an
it's
Andrew
not in a
Schultz
position
doing?
to sit there and say, oh, Morgan Wallen, you should show us more respect. No, he shouldn't. You should be thanking him for being there.
And to Jack in the chat, Pete Davidson is not there anymore.
No,
Pete
yeah,
Davidson
he's
is
long
on
gone.
vacation right now.
He's on hiatus.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
on-
know
he's
where-
on vacation
He might
with
be
his
at
new
rehab.
girlfriend.
I don't know. Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney better look out. to
I
be
just
honest.
heard that Rachel Zegler was actually canceled for an SNL appearance. Like, she was supposed to do SNL to promote Snow White after its release.
That's crazy. That
And
would have been
they
great
canceled
promotion.
that.
Would have been great. Like, for Saturday Night Live, that would have been great promotion for them to have her on.
If SNL were willing to write the skits
Yeah.
that would make fun of her PR disaster, but I don't think she would have been willing to participate in them. And I think Disney wouldn't have had the media savviness to know that that's the right move. So she ended up just getting taken off the slate altogether. But I'm just thinking about how funny it would have been to see Morgan Wallen and Rachel Zegler do a skit together. Like,
That would have
that's
been amazing.
why they have celebrity guests, is like crazy combos like that.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see
Could
that.
be like a thing where she's talking about how Snow White's a disaster, but then they keep calling back to all of the stuff that Gal Gadot also said and have the song "I Had Some Help" playing in the background.
Rachel Zegler needs some help.
Yeah, she does. All right, let's move on. We got more to get into today. Andrew Tate is in the news.
An ex-girlfriend of Andrew Tate named Bree Stern recently came out with some shocking allegations and screenshots of alleged text messages between the two of them, where Andrew Tate is allegedly, I could not say the word allegedly more than I'm saying it right now.
Only if you were Ian Carroll.
Allegedly, he is claiming to really enjoy hitting her. He's saying things like, "You are my property," just a lot of stuff like this. And Bree Stern came out with this Twitter thread alleging abuse and violence and threats against her from Andrew Tate. And she has filed a police report at this point, which is what you should do if you're making allegations of that kind.
Yep.
So respect that you're actually getting authorities involved. But she also decided to get social media involved.
Uh-oh.
And that's where the trouble comes in. So let's pull up that tweet where the very first photo is her with like smudged mascara. I don't know what I'm looking at right now. This is not a woman who is bleeding, bruised, or injured in any visible way. Just looks like she slept in her makeup. That's literally what this looks like. I don't know what she's trying to prove, but here's how she starts it. Quote, "You are my property. My name is Bree Stern. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I met Andrew Tate in the summer of 2024, and we were in a relationship for almost a year."
Okay, so before we even get started, there's just something very modern about the fact that you've got these extremely heinous and serious allegations, but you have like a hook at the top. Like,
yeah, the quote at the top.
Like that is like there's just something so prepped and prepared about it that it's just a kind of a commentary on the way things are now.
I completely agree. Yeah. And you know, girl, the red flags were there before you met Andrew Tate. But then as we go deeper into this thread, the red flags just keep on coming over and over and over. There's just more red flags and more red flags. And she expects us to not, you know, at least think you could have avoided this situation. I don't care about sounding like a victim blamer. I don't even know if she is a victim. She probably isn't. But even if she were, I would just think, like, there were signs. There were definitely signs, Bree.
I mean, do you think people will have that? That's going to kind of be a blanket statement for anyone that dates someone with that much of a reputation now. Like, they're going to say, like, how could you not know about those things beforehand? It's a horrible conversation to have, but it's at least something that's fair to ask.
Yeah, definitely. But there are plenty of women who will overlook that for self-serving reasons or because they have no self-respect. Or both. And then she follows this up with a tweet that pretty much proves to me she's using this as an opportunity to advertise her crypto coin. She has a crypto coin, which is immediately plugged in the thread, called Sister.
Yep.
She says, "We met because Andrew Tate needed models for his crypto coin and promised to help me save my crypto coin, Sister. We spent as much time together as we could, but when we weren't physically together, we were in communication all day, every day." I can't believe he has the time, right?
Yeah.
To be messaging chicks.
What do you
I
think
thought he was like
does?
an entrepreneur. He's busy. He's booked.
He's not busy.
He's in the war room. He's
literally
brainstorming. He's
just
masterminding.
Masterminding.
He's
Oh, wait.
just making YouTube videos or videos that go behind
Yeah.
the paywall on his war room thing.
I guess he's just not like on the grind set like we thought he was.
No, it's just that when you've mastered it to that level, you can multitask.
He has the mind of a
He's kind of like
mastermind.
Taskmaster
Yeah.
in Marvel.
He was my best friend. I stood by his side unwaveringly. We made plans to live together, first in Romania and then in Miami once he traveled to America. He wanted to start a new life together once he arrived in the U.S. This sounds awfully familiar, according to legal filings in DICOT, where all these women who are allegedly trafficked by the Tate brothers say they were promised marriage and family and children and homes.
Ladies, if you are going to talk to Andrew Tate, you should really read what other women say about what Andrew Tate says to them.
It's like if there were Yelp reviews.
You know, exactly.
For a boyfriend, you know?
There's a comedy skit there somewhere.
No, there actually is a platform. I forget what it's called, but it's for reviews and ratings on men in like whatever city you're in. and
That's creepy.
women who have like matched with them on Hinge or Tinder or whatever will give reviews for like how they acted. And
I mean, that's like insane.
yeah, it is
Like-
insane.
Like that's one of the few times, like, look, if you go and give a Yelp review for a restaurant, like I'm already going to question, like, were you a dick to the waiter and that's why your service was crap?
that's the kind of thing that would be in your review.
Yeah, but like with women doing it, I mean, I don't know if I buy 100% that it's, you know, for every review that's bad for a guy, that it's 100% the guy's fault.
No, I don't think so either. But
I think
for
just
someone
the-
like Andrew Tate,
You don't
there
need
is
that
a lot
side, yeah.
out there. There's a lot of information out there. You can make your judgment, and she made the wrong one. So she goes on, Andrew told me he loved me every day, and I was very much in love with him. This is the thing. People think infatuation is the same thing as love.
It's also very easy to say and very hard to prove and show.
Yeah, especially because they weren't even together physically for the vast majority of this. Despite the fact that he has hurt me so badly, I still love him. Maybe that is Stockholm Syndrome. I don't know. She provides a screenshot of their messages here. Can you pull that up?
Yep.
She said, I'm glad you texted me. I was having anxiety. And then he says, you need to be hit. And she says, why? I don't like it. What did I do? And then he says, you deserve it. And she just asks why. We don't see the rest
Look,
of the exchange
is there
here.
proof that this is a text between the two of them?
No, there's no proof that this is a text between them. No. That's the thing. But if it is cringe on both sides, it's like,
A cringe on both your houses.
yeah. It's like the Army Hammer text messages, which were real. I read those and I don't think like, wow, what a predator. I think like this guy is just turbo cringe. Like he thinks that he comes off like some kind of like alpha male because he's saying like he wants to barbecue your ribs. If I ever got a text message like that, I would just be like eye rolling into another galaxy.
You ever see
it's
those-
so performative.
You ever see those like Instagram skits of the guy who's like, he's like, you were 15 and your parents made you go to a barbecue and he's got the emo haircut and he sits like this? It's that basically.
It's like, do you think that women think that's cool? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Like I would clock that immediately and disassociate.
I mean, technically, I think the success that they've had with the amount of women that are in their lives would say that it is successful and it does work
know.
and that you're the exception.
It's wild. Like, how do you not clock the inauthenticity of that, like, Chad, like, persona? Like, that's so repulsive.
That doesn't make it inauthentic. It just means that who they are is repulsive.
Yeah. She says, the last time I saw Andrew was on March 11th, 2025 at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Last words he said to me before I left the hotel were, shut the F up, bitch. You will never backtalk me. You are my property. In this screenshot, he says, if you're mine, why wouldn't I be able to hit you? And she says, you scared me with what you said. And he says, are you scared of me? And she says, physical violence for me is a huge no. I don't even like when you hit me during sex. It scares me. Due to events that had transpired in the early hours of that day, as well as his final degrading words, something clicked. I recognized that someone who truly loved me wouldn't say those things to me or hurt me repeatedly the way that he did.
Yeah.
What a eureka moment. I can't believe they're like, it's really sad. I mean, I don't know if she really fits the description, but there are a lot of women out there who just genuinely don't make the connection between men's behavior and like how trustworthy they are.
Mm-hmm.
They legitimately end up in these situations where they have no idea they're with a scumbag.
Yeah.
And usually they never learn.
Yeah.
I don't think that she's necessarily as naive as she wants us to believe, but there are women out there who are like that. So it's there's a seed of truth in it. And then in this other screenshot, he says, I want to beat the F out of you. You will give me a child this year, bitch. And she says, why do you want to beat me? And he says, what's the point in having you? If I don't beat you and impregnate you, you should be thankful.
Like, it's getting to a point now where it's starting to sound almost too comically over the top.
No, I know.
It's
but
turning. Look, I that's not me saying that
barbecuing your ribs also sounds comical and over the top,
Yeah.
and that happened too.
but it's like we're entering into Reddit thread territory, like Reddit story territory.
Yeah.
And it's just look, it's 100% believable, but at the same time, if true, you've turned yourself into some type of weird parody of yourself.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, I feel like a woman with any actual self-respect or like brain cells, she couldn't end up in a situation like this where she legitimately thinks that this guy is like impressive. Because if he's trying that hard to seem tough, he clearly is overcompensating.
He's literally the
like
villain
deep
in
insecurity.
He's the villain in the movie that they give you to allow you to be okay with the hero killing people. So literally, when I was watching A Working Man, there's this scene where this Russian mob boss, like his wife is just there, and he got home and he's like on his phone or something, and she just says something and it annoys him. She says something else and kind of gets angry with him, and he just hits her. And it's literally done because Jason Statham is about to come kill this dude, and it's like and you have to justify his behavior. And the way they do that is like, what's the quickest route? What is the shortcut to make sure that the audience won't turn on the hero? Have him hit a woman.
Well, you know, I think Andrew Tate is one of the few people in the world who's okay with being the villain in the narrative. And, you know, I don't find it that hard to believe that he sent these text messages.
I blame book talk.
The thing is, I don't believe that he even necessarily behaves this way in person. He's like hiding behind the phone, behind the sex messages.
Oh, I don't. I believe.
Saying all this stuff to seem like cool and tough and shad and whatever, which would like immediately just like make me cringe into oblivion. But apparently she didn't, you know, immediately pick up on how inauthentic and fake that is. But you know, it's not. The reason I lend credence to the existence of a relationship like this is because of like times when I've talked to other women about like relationships they had that like didn't work out. So I'm not going to go into any detail whatsoever, but I was talking to a female friend about a relationship she had that ended. And she said all this stuff about this guy that she seemed to realize was so cringy about him only after the breakup. Like during the relationship, she just totally turned a blind eye, didn't, you know, I was hearing all this and I was like, I would have like ghosted this guy like a billion years ago. So he was saying like, oh yeah, like I idolize Patrick Bateman. he was saying to her that he like idolizes Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. And that
He was like, it's literally me.
And he was saying things to her like, you know, you need to dress this certain way around me so that people know that you're like on my level and stuff like that. And it's like, just stuff like that should give you an immediate immediately like repulse factor.
Did the guy have a lot of money?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, he pretended to.
He was
from what I understand.
He was aspirational in his cringiness.
I know. And then he's acting like, you know, she's not on his level, but for some reason she believes what he's saying. And then after it's over and she has time to reflect on everything cringy that he ever said, now she realizes that she should have ended it a long time ago.
I mean, the other side of that argument is that there tends to also be good things about some people that then cloud it. I mean, obviously, we're not saying that with Andrew Tate, but we're saying that with like
a normal
if it's a normal
guy.
dude who's just cringy, he's probably also had qualities that she liked, which masked how she felt about those things. And now after things fall apart, she's negative in her connotation, so that stuff comes across even worse than it would have when you don't have that same kind of predisposition to being annoyed by them.
Well, I see it as an act of kindness to call someone out on being cringe and call someone out on their bullshit. So like, had I been in that situation, I'd be like, you idolize Patrick Bateman? Like, what does that even mean? You're like literally a 22-year-old who spends his daddy's money. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And when you're just real and you can just say things like that, people have more respect for you, and they would probably end up having more respect for themselves and not say stupid shit like that anymore. So that's why when I read the text screenshots, I was like, yeah, he probably said that. There was another one where Andrew Tate allegedly says, "I really love hitting you. It's very good for me and you. It's relaxing, don't you think?"
Again, it feels very over the top.
She also says he texted her more recently to say, "If you ever betray me, you will regret it. He has told me on many occasions before that if I crossed him, he would ruin my life, R-word me, or K me." I would love to see evidence of that as well.
Yeah.
The threats. But yeah, she goes on, "I know I can't be silent. I have to make my voice heard, blah, 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 blah." And provided more photos of what she thinks prove violence against her, but I don't see any marks or any blood or any bruise in these photos.
Yeah.
It just looks like smudged makeup to me.
I don't know if any of it's true. I can't say that for sure, but I do know that getting involved with someone like this was always going to likely lead to a situation, unfortunately.
I don't think there's really any reason to lend credence to her claims. But this is the thing. If she's making all this up or contriving all of this, then she's just going to make sure all the other claims against Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate have zero credibility.
Yeah.
So again, if it's a fake Me Too claim, you're throwing everyone else with perhaps a valid claim under the bus.
Yeah.
Once again. And this is just the cycle continues. I can't believe we're still doing this.
I mean, people are inherently that's if we're assuming that she's lying, and I can't know. But if people are inherently self-interested, so if she's making it up for her own benefit, she's not thinking about the consequences of her actions. If she's telling the truth, then that's not what's going on here.
I don't even think she's like lying. I think she's just saying like, I was in a relationship with a shitty guy who treated me shittily. And then expecting the police to do something about it. She is lying to herself at the same time that she is lying to everybody else.
Okay. All right. Let us move on.
Sydney Sweeney just dumped her fiance, Jonathan Davino, and now she's wasted no time in getting with Glenn Powell, who was allegedly her romance back when they were filming Anyone But You. And she's also given a reason to the press as to why she decided to be single again. It's because she wants to focus on her girl boss career. And people are making all of these comments like, oh, the streets are calling. She wants to have a hoe phase. She's just like all the other broads. And
that's like that girl who got the $11,000 nose job and then divorced her husband.
I'll say with confidence, Sydney Sweeney is in no way like the other women. She's exceptional in pretty much every regard. She is richer, more attractive, smarter, that's for sure, more business savvy, also just more selfish. And this is not going to turn into some kind of fable that the moral at the end of the story is, you know, don't dump your fiance and don't have a hoe phase. I think this is going to pay off for her. But a source told People magazine the reason for Sydney Sweeney's split and calling off her wedding. They say she didn't feel right about it. She's not ready to settle down. They only lasted for this long because it was hard for her to break it off. They didn't split because there's no love. They split because she just wants to focus on her career right now.
That means she doesn't love him.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were together for a sickeningly long amount of time, and she went through a lot of life changes. She's way more successful than she was when she met him. Surpassed him in success. And, you know, he was kind of batting out of his league by the time they broke up, basically. And she is correct that she has an extremely demanding career. And if she wants to prioritize that, then, yeah, like, marriage and a family is not going to be compatible. with the level of movie stardom that she is headed towards right now. So if that's the value judgment she's made, I can't say she's wrong to prioritize it. It's just what you choose to prioritize.
Yeah. Do we know how long were they engaged?
I think since 2022.
Okay.
But they were together for much longer than that. So I think total they were together for like 6-7 years. She's 26 now, right? Or 27?
27, I think.
They got together when she was like 19.
Yeah.
So it was a long relationship, but obviously even just between the ages of 19 and 26, you go through personality changes, but also her lifestyle completely turned upside down, and she became he became the weak link is what happened.
Okay.
And that's
so the money,
understandable.
So the money, wait, explain that.
Well, because she became the more famous, the more successful, the more financially stable.
I don't think
of
the
two
fame.
of them.
I don't think the fame matters because he's not a front-facing person. But so you're saying so she's more financially successful, and what was the other one? You said she's more.
She
famous.
was also. I'm just gonna say she was the more attractive of the two of them from the beginning, but then she had the upper hand in all these other ways.
Okay. And
they probably have less in common now that her career has blown up. And I think that she would be right to make the judgment that you can choose between these two paths and prioritize one of them.
For the both of them, given how long they've been together, it would be interesting to know how much time they were spending together at all. I would have been happier.
Probably not much.
I would have been happier with something like, look, we're not, like, it's not working anymore. Like, prioritizing the career, at what point? So does the man that she ends up settling down with, if she does, have to be of the same level of fame and success as her? Otherwise, it's not about prioritizing your career. It's about prioritizing what he isn't.
They say she's all about working right now, and she's very excited about all of her projects.
So I don't believe any of the press release stuff.
No? You think it's all fake?
No, well, it's like, I just don't see any reason to believe the press release when they're like, oh, this is all about working, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's a very boilerplate, easy excuse. You have no idea what their relationship was like on the inside.
Like, I don't know if I buy
so there's no reason to say that that's the case. Like,
I don't know if I buy that her being successful in Hollywood is the reason why they're breaking up. Like, that she's focusing on her career. With the money comes the advantages, meaning the ability to travel at will. He can go with her. It says he's not even a restaurateur. He's a business guy, meaning that he likely does his business from his phone, meaning that he can travel wherever he wants. If we're talking about some type of power imbalance in the relationship, that depends on how successful he actually is, which I don't actually know. I feel like she's coping. At least just a little bit. Like, I would say that it's less about the career and more that she wants out. And she's wanted out for a long time.
And this is a good reason on paper.
I don't even know if I buy that it's necessarily a good reason. I actually think a good reason is like, look, we grew apart. It's not working anymore. If we get married, we won't be happy. That is an actual reason. Career is cope. Ultra mega cope.
Career, I tend to agree.
But they grew apart
because the career worked. The career is actually something that makes it easier for you to be together. If you have a lot of success, yes, you're going to be busy, but he can, nowadays when it comes to like travel and stuff like that, if he does do his business from his phone and stuff, and it's mostly like meetings and emails and stuff, he can be where she is. I think it's more than just the
like she says in the Glamour interview. I'm a very successful independent woman who worked really, really hard. She has the DNA of somebody who doesn't want to get married. She has the DNA of somebody who is not interested in that lifestyle right now.
But she said also so many times too that she wants to be a mom and she wants to get
just
married.
Not with him.
She said it so many times,
but not with him.
More than almost any other actress, especially of her generation.
Clearly not with him.
But you say they grew apart. Well, they grew apart seemingly because of the demands of her.
Then that's because they
job.
didn't want to work at it.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying that that's easy, but that's the thing. Is like, okay, I was working a couple, like 6 months out of the year, right, on shoots. Now I'm working 12 months out of the year. Well, even 6 months out of the year, if what I'm supposed to believe is like 6 months out of the year they weren't around each other, that's already the death knell for most relationships. So if we're talking now it's a year, then that you're working year round, then you have to find ways to make it work. And the difference is she doesn't want to commit to the attachment that it causes, because it's more work than she'd want to put into it. But again, that's not about the job. That's about the relationship not being worth her time. And she's just packaging it in a way that's acceptable to feminists in modern day society.
Well, imagine being Jonathan Davino and you're the producer of this big rom-com with your fiance in it, anyone but you. You invested this money in it, and you let her do all of these intimate scenes with this movie star, Glenn Powell. And there are all these rumors going around that her and Glenn Powell are having an affair, and everyone's making a big joke of it because of course not. It's all a marketing tactic, right?
Glenn was in there from the beginning.
Literally
I buy it.
days after the news of their breakup came out, she's seen with Glenn Powell in Dallas, and she is invited as his +1 to his sister's wedding, which ironically is like literally the plot of the rom-com. They were literally wedding guests together, and they hate each other at first, and then they fall in love.
She totally, I mean, all the stuff about work, that's all BS.
Yeah.
She likes this other guy.
She likes Glenn Powell.
And I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. Okay, she's not gonna marry Glenn Powell. She's gonna be single most of her 30s, or she will date in her 30s. She'll go from guy to guy to guy. She's gonna be like, I don't know. I saw somebody mention Lindsay Lohan. She's gonna settle down in her mid to late 30s with some dude who owns a tech company, or some dude who owns some very, very successful brand. He will be he won't be a front-facing member of the public, but he will be very successful. She will be in her mid-30s, which means by that time she's gotten the length of her career using her looks. She's still going to be able to use her looks later on, but she will have those prime years where her looks drive her roles. She will push farther into producing, and then she will settle down with this guy. She'll still be working, but she will have gotten it all out of her system. But really what it was is she didn't want to marry this guy.
This specific guy. It's not. Yeah,
it was comfortable when he was wealthy and she wasn't successful. It was a comfort to go home to it. But now that she doesn't need that comfort, she's casting him aside. And that I'm not even trying to frame that necessarily in a negative way. I'm saying they grew apart. But the cynical side of me says that now that I don't feel like I need him, I can cast him aside. I don't know if that's the case here. That could just be a cynical approach.
But it's also true. Yeah. Like it's the same thing. Like when a dude, if a dude's with a woman and like she's not the best looking woman when he's not successful, then he becomes extremely successful, and then he's like, man, I could find a better looking bloke. It's the same thing.
And we've talked all the time about
hypergamy is the phrase,
like there's this kind of, in her situation is a little bit different because she's a celebrity, but there is a terminal illness in the world today of like the grass is always greener. People think I could always do just a little bit better. I deserve just a little bit more. And that's got everything to do with narcissism and self-obsession and nothing to do with the actual work that goes into building a loving relationship. And I would say that a lot of that is because most people don't think of it in the same way. Like nobody, most of the time, are dating to get married anyways. They're dating to pass the time.
Right. So, I mean, if she grew apart from him when she didn't need him anymore, didn't have like some kind of personal advantage, that means their relationship wasn't built on anything to last in the first place.
Yep. And
which would have been both their faults.
Yes. And the thing is, though, is he's not going to get anybody. Nobody's going to be coming to this dude's rescue. Like nobody's going to be taking this dude's
they'll
side.
both. Well, no, I mean,
no. I'm saying like in conversations like this, people are generally the online right is going to champion Sydney Sweeney because the online right loves Sydney Sweeney.
Really? Because I'm seeing a lot of takes from the other perspective. They're saying that she's actually
Yeah, the
in the
online
wrong.
right is going to be like, she's a woman.
They're saying she's in the wrong.
Yeah, but they won't hold that opinion because they'll
Actually-
then she'll wear a low cut top and they'll forget what they were talking about. So it won't
Colonel
matter.
Kurtz
we
had a
have-
take on this. She said, I've had about enough of the comments
She was
I'm
feisty
seeing
in this
about
one.
Sydney Sweeney just wanting to hoe around. She's hearing the call of the streets, etc. Y'all are effing idiot, sexist, are words.
Yeah.
All that happened here is the girl has just been hit with a 1 in a million ticket to a major movie star career that entails having zero spare time. I'm an unsuccessful wannabe YouTube star, and I can tell you that the level of busyness this entails is almost too much for my relationship of 15 years to handle. I can't even begin to comprehend how busy and impossible Sydney Sweeney's life is. Some of you guys are so embittered that you'll never get a woman of Sweeney's caliber to F you or date you, and that you don't know what else to do but insult her. And some of you women have been so brainwashed by the manosphere and its talk of hitting walls and such that you are backing up this dumb way of thinking.
This woman is a retard.
No, we love
We love Colonel Kurtz.
We love Colonel Kurtz.
Well,
Colonel
she's
And
wrong.
she is very
I mean,
smart.
look, she's wrong. She's wrong.
okay,
Because she's like, oh, like it's clearly about the business, blah, blah, blah. She's so busy, she can be, she can go to the other dude's wedding or go to the wedding with the other dude, right? She's so busy.
Well,
but
even
as
that's kind
soon-
of a work thing, though, too. You could think of that as well as like a work thing. Because they're in the same industry, because it's good for them both PR-wise.
I don't
That's
care.
why PR relationship
look.
exists.
No.
I love Colonel Kurtz. I think there's a little bit of a straw man argument at the end there.
What's the...
about being mad that they'll never get a woman that will date like Sydney Sweeney that will date them. I think that's a little bit of a straw man.
Sydney Sweeney is like literally one in like 20 million, 1 in 50 million, 1 in 100 million. Of course they won't. Nobody will. Like,
Well, that's kind of... Yeah, it's a given, but it's not necessarily the reason why...
And
and that's part of
they're
why I'm
criticizing.
kind
And if
of.
you
That's
wanna-
another part of the reason why this Colonel Kurtz person, I'm just like.
And
Like,
if
it's
you want to
just-
make the argument to the contrary, there are plenty of Dolly Parton was married for like 40 gazillion years and was always working, and you could make tons of arguments to the contrary. But here's the thing. If she just wants to do it because she just doesn't think it's going to work and she wants to do just her job, that's fine. But don't blame the career. Say it wasn't working.
Yeah. Well, only time will tell.
Like, you shouldn't marry somebody that you shouldn't marry somebody that you don't want, that you don't think it's going to work with, just because that's like sunken cost fallacy. That's like, we spent all this time together, we have to force ourselves to make it work. But I think that it's more likely that there was a safety net involved in being with this guy when she wasn't successful, and when that safety net was removed, she no longer felt that connection, or in this case, she didn't feel like she needed to be there anymore because she didn't need the safety net.
I sense that...
I don't know, though.
A lot of people think Sydney Sweeney is an airhead.
No.
I can tell from her...
She's very smart.
The way that she conducts herself in her career and the foundations she's setting for her future financially, even now, she is not an idiot, and she knows exactly what she's doing, so I do hope it pays off for her, and it's good that she knows she can't have it all. That's a good thing that to be aware of at her age and her success level.
Well, we will have to wait and see.
Yeah.
All right, what would you like to see first? We'll just go cringe first. Phil always prefers
Cringe
Phil
first.
always prefers cringe to be first, so let's do that here. All right, where do you rate this one on the awful scale?
Ooh, it's up there. I would say an 8.5.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the show right now, there is a woman at what looks to be a Starbucks or a coffee shop of some sort with an anatomically correct doll
Right.
in a
Awesome.
wheelchair.
Yeah.
I'll do a grande strawberry acai with water, and then he will do a nitro black coffee. Nitro cold brew? Yes. And what else for you? That's all. Okay. And your name? Lisa, S-A-Y-S-A.
You know that cashier was like, "Look, what two people do in the privacy of a Starbucks is
Of a
nobody's
Starbucks
business.
bathroom.
Is nobody's
Once we
business
give them the code.
but their own."
11:58. Thank you.
Got our coffees.
This is the worst
We're
part.
good to go. face and wipe your lip.
Oh my God.
He got foam on his lip, that silly goose. He's also, the doll's wearing a shirt that says I heart and then her name.
In the chat, somebody says we effed. No. This is not the same. This is actually not mental illness. This is clout chasing.
I think it's both. I mean, it might be fitting to just classify clout chasing as a mental condition at this point.
It's different. It's staged. All right, let's do cute of the day. Here we go. Let's do this one here. Big Dave says Frankie sleeping in with my oldest in the morning after my son spent the night in the living room. They're both good boys. Look at the puppy.
Aww.
Look at the puppy. And we'll do one more here. This one is from Matthias. It says here Siri taking a very long nap. Oh, it's cute.
Siri?
Suri. S-U-R-I.
Oh, okay. I almost thought
Suri.
it was named after
The-
Siri.
Yeah.
Looking
All right.
very soft.
Guys, if you want to submit for Cute of the Day, remember, hashtag PCC Pets, tag me in there on X, and you can brag about your pets there. Pictures, not videos if possible. It just takes up too much memory on the computer. It's getting old.
All right. Adolescence is the biggest show on Netflix right now. I wasn't expecting it to blow up as much as it did, but in case you're unfamiliar, this is a British crime drama, a psychological thriller perhaps, and it's being praised for the cinematography, but also for its themes of combating toxic masculinity in young men and boys.
It's already just so exhausting.
So to summarize, the protagonist in the show is the 13-year-old boy, Jamie, arrested for stabbing his female classmate to death. And they conduct an investigation. His parents discover that he is guilty, and they wonder what could have possibly went wrong in this child's psyche that convinced him to commit such a heinous act of violence. And what they find out by interrogating him and looking into his personal life is that he was radicalized by the online red pill manosphere
That's not
content.
even what happens, if I understand correctly. I didn't watch the show, but he was actually bullied by the girl that stabbed him.
Well, but the reason that he ended up lashing out in response is blamed on the manosphere and figures like Andrew Tate. And
I hate everything about this.
Those are name checked in the show. This is now speaking to what the UK considers an epidemic among their young schoolboys. And, you know, it's funny because the showrunners have talked extensively about what inspired the show, and it's because of the knife crime epidemic in their country, which I would say is very clearly caused by migrant crime, not by a bunch of young, like, we're talking like 12, 13-year-old white boys committing crimes. It's mainly migrant crime.
The UK government is on par with the most lying governments in all of history. It's right up there. It's right up there. It's getting to the level of
They're
North
insane.
Korea level lies, where they just sit like just BS, like openly lie about things that everybody knows they're lying about. It's appalling when you hear it from, at least from the outside.
Well, I can tell that this is kind of causing a cultural shift in the UK specifically that we're not really privy to because we live in such a big, populated, diverse country. We don't have one TV show that like everyone's watching right now.
Yeah.
But in the UK, this is making a huge impact, and they are making actual decisions on policy and education in their government based on the popularity of this show. Now, schools in the UK are planning to give boys anti-misogyny lessons
That'll
to
work.
stop toxic masculinity in the wake of adolescence and its success. They're set to give anti-misogyny lessons to teen boys. They're part of the government's new relationships, health, and sex education guidance, which will be introduced before the end of this academic year. This comes after a statement from Keir Starmer, their prime minister. He said, as a father, watching Adolescence with my teenage son and daughter hit home hard. We all need to be having these conversations more. I've backed Netflix's plan to show the series for free in schools across the country so as many young people as possible can see it.
It's actually not just that, too. It says Labor government to set up adolescence hubs to screen fictional Netflix TV show so that people can see it without a subscription. Have you ever known a TV show to get so much promotion by a government?
The announcement follows a roundtable discussion held by Keir Starmer alongside representatives from charities such as Tender, the NSPCC, the Children's Society, and the Adolescence co-creators. They have advocated for the show to be shown in schools. Keir Starmer says it's an important initiative to encourage as many pupils as possible to watch the show. As I see from my own children, openly talking about changes in how they communicate, the content they're seeing, and exploring conversations they're having with their peers is vital if we're to properly support them in navigating contemporary challenges and deal with malign influences. Like, I suppose, the Tates or Luke Belmar or Dan Bilzerian, or you could go down the list.
So it's not just the anti-misogyny stuff. The topic of knife crime is a really, really big deal. We were talking before the show about the fact that Idris Elba is emerging as the top choice to replace Khan as London's mayor after his knife crime campaign, which he takes very seriously and has made documentaries about. So these are issues that it's just so weird to me to see a private corporation, a private company like Netflix get this much. The government, like taxpayers, are paying for this. Like you, the UK. I don't know if we have anybody here watching from the UK.
I'm sure we do.
But you're paying for this with your tax dollars, and it's all based around a concept that's not really lined up with reality. There was a lot of really great tweets that were able to kind of distill this down into more like you were talking about the fact that they're focusing on misogyny and knife crime when it's really, for a lot of people, they classify it as an immigration issue, but they're talking more about the absurdity of this as a whole. This is from somebody called The Little Platoon, said this entire thing has become a satanic panic for middle-class white liberals. The problems it identifies does not exist. The director has not named a single comparable case to the one he depicts. Young white boys are not an Andrew Tate video away from stabbing women. But if you want to push more young men towards Andrew Tate in the manosphere, adding yet another compulsory layer to society's white boys are devil mass psychosis, this is a good way to go about it.
They're doing everything wrong. They're doing all the wrong things.
The incel in Adolescence is 13. Labeling a 13-year-old an incel implies sex is a reasonable expectation at that age. Involuntary celibacy frames celibacy as a failure, projecting an adult framework onto children. Which is very, very good way of kind of pointing out the absurdity of this. You know what I miss?
Isn't Lily Phillips from the UK?
Yes.
Both of those
two
chicks that are doing like.
Or is Bonnie Blue Australian?
No, both Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue are British.
It was Annie Knight.
You got problems.
Okay. You know what I miss? Hollywood. You used to be able to make movies with evil kids, but the point was that they were just evil.
They were just monsters.
They weren't evil because mommy and daddy didn't love them. They weren't evil because they were picked on by other people at school. Children, they're just evil. That is going to be
unless it's Carrie. Carrie would be the exception.
Well, yes. But the thing is, then they went on to make stuff about that ends up being commentary on, they made tons of shows and episodes of shows about school shootings and stuff like that, which analyze the idea of bullying. But the money is if you just make evil kids, that's better and is going to get you a lot less pushback. But they don't want that. And to Netflix's credit, say what you will, this show is unbelievably popular. It is the most popular thing on their network right now. But that's a lot. It might have something to do with the subject matter, but it's also it's a marvel of technical proficiency with certain episodes. So it's got a lot to do with that.
Yeah, they're being praised because of the way this is filmed in at least what seems to be one continuous shot per episode. And I did watch one clip where this therapist is interrogating the 13-year-old protagonist, and she's asking him very personal questions about sex. and she's asking him, like, how far have you gone with a girl? Have you had a girlfriend? Like, what did you do with her? What would you do with her? Where would you touch her? Like, very, like, intense questions that you would show in a TV show with a child, but also that the child actor is required to learn for his role. And they're portraying this as, like, part of the investigation into the crime.
The thing is like knife crime being as prevalent. Look, they just banned ninja swords. Remember? Ninja sword. I don't know the difference between a ninja sword and another type of sword, but they just, they're banning the swords and they're in their own panic the way that, Hollywood does with guns.
So, yeah, there are many dimensions to this. It's propaganda about knife crime. It is racially scapegoating white British people and specifically white men in Britain. It is drawing attention to this hot button issue of the manosphere and, toxic masculinity and stuff like that. And it also is sexualizing children. That's undeniable. There's countless reasons why this is such an insult to our intelligence. And unfortunately, so many people are falling for it. I saw this one headline from a mom in the UK who says, when I finished watching Adolescence, I raced to my 10-year-old son's room and asked him these 3 questions. And I went and looked into this essay that she wrote. She says, here were the 3 questions. What do you think about the girls at school? That's the first one. What does being a boy feel like for you? And what do you think a good man does?
Like, those are too existential of a question to ask a 10-year-old.
Those are not questions that you ask a 10-year-old. Those are actually questions that you provide answers for before anything else. So, then she goes on to say, I'll respect his privacy with his answers, but it's opened up a new, important, and honest conversation that's ongoing.
Where is his father to answer these questions?
Right, exactly. I don't see a mention of his father here. And then, if he doesn't have a present father, how would he know what a good man is or does? And how would he know what it means to be a boy or what masculinity is? And if you're his entire parental model, how would he know how to interact with the girls at school and what's appropriate and what's not? So they're expecting essentially Netflix to do all the work.
I mean, that checks out. With
and this is not
day.
The content of this show is not appropriate for children. No. So the fact that they're screening it for children is quite disturbing as well.
I mean, what's worse is it's not even so much. It is, but I don't even worry as much about the kids watching it and taking something from it. I think it's more worrying that the parents will watch it and get the wrong lessons from something like this.
Well, they're telling the parents the wrong lessons. Like, it's not just that they might pick up the wrong things. It's intended to tell parents the wrong things. Like I said, I didn't watch this myself, but I listened to someone's synopsis, and the way that they're talking about it, the boy was bullied by the girl that he stabbed.
A fictional story now is getting funded by the government and driving policy. That's insane.
Right. Well, what COVID demonstrated is that you can take any sort of moral panic, and if you frame it as a public health crisis, then it becomes the domain of the government, and they can do whatever they want to fix it. Thank you.
Mary's favorite song is back. I'm sure this was the part she missed the most while she was gone.
I'm already back in better spirits. And more clownery in Britbong, by the way. They're considering Idris Elba to be the next mayor of London.
I mean, we elect celebrities as politicians here. It's not... Though there's probably
the direction he's taking his career.
There is fantastic mimetic potential in like taking the funniest scenes of him being like overly loud and violent in Luther and turning it into content. It would be hilarious because he's an amazing actor. Like taking the scenes where he's yelling and punching walls and in Luther, and then like when the vote doesn't go your way.
Look, they're such an unserious country that I don't even care what they do with their government at this point. They're already effed. So
See, you know what? Here's what I think. I think they should look. The UK, you're cooked. You're already screwed. Get him into office so I don't have to hear about him being James Bond.
you know, he'll be too busy. Yeah, we were just like making fun of.
Or let him be a villain and then put him in office. Let him be a Bond villain.
We were making fun of the show before we were on air, and I just like I can't get over the accents. Like I couldn't watch the show and take it seriously with their accents. They're like, "Oh my tea and crumpets, my son has been on incel forums. He's on the manosphere.
I will not pay
Bloody hell, he's listening to Andrew Tate in the war room.
the war room." Yep. Yeah.
Queen would be ashamed.
You're cooked over there.
They're cooked.
It's time to move on, ladies and gentlemen. Get the queen off your money.
Cooked like
All right.
beans on toast.
All right, let's do. You want to do super chats? Or you just want to go through?
No, let's go.
All right.
Shane H. Wilder said, Phil over here like the super chat sounds tarded. Must be Shane. LMAO.
No,
Kind of.
absolutely
Kind of what,
not.
I mean, that's
Absolutely not.
He's saying
I
that's
reject it
exactly what he's saying.
entirely. Shane H. Wilder is nothing but
He's a gem.
gentleman, and I appreciate Shane H. Wilder. So no, that is not true.
Yurishima Otaru says, now I'm glad Kanye did that to Mike Myers. Did what?
What did Kanye
No,
do?
Kanye didn't do it to Mike Myers. Kanye said that George Bush doesn't like black people while he was standing next to Mike Myers, and Mike Myers was like, "Oh hell."
Mm-hmm.
So
I totally forgot he was there.
yeah.
Daykoff said, as a Latino guy, it ticks me off to no end how openly racist people are allowed to be towards white people. They just use DEI to hide it.
I mean, we're being
more...
rude to British people, so I guess all's fair.
Look, I mean,
Well,
at the end of
that's
the day,
just plain
at
old
the end of the
xenophobic.
day, like everybody's racist, right? Like the idea that like all the minorities and stuff, they're not racist, like that is not true.
Yeah.
Everybody's super racist. It's just that it's not polite to be racist publicly.
Right.
Antonio, what would make a British family more scared? Being part of Andrew Tate's war room or watching Bannon's war room? Which one do they end up hating more? Tate.
Yeah,
for sure.
because he's from. I mean, he's better known in the UK than probably anywhere else because he was on that Big Brother show, and he's like I think
Right. Yeah.
he had a little bit of popularity in the UK before he became like a influencer on X and stuff.
Do one more.
Junie said, Phil, what do you think of the artist Poppy?
She's fine.
Have you
I
listened to much
don't
of her
cons-
stuff?
So I don't consider Poppy metal. I've heard like people like, oh, Poppy metal. She's in a metal band. She's not metal. It's not bad, but I don't consider her like a metal artist. So
It's mostly like satirical, is it not?
I don't know about that either.
I don't know.
I've not looked deeply enough into Poppy's stuff to
I
actually.
liked her more for her YouTube channel back in like.
She had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, do people not remember this? She
didn't
was
know
like
that.
famous mainly for like making all of these weird videos where she was like, "Hi, I'm Poppy." She like played this character. Then she started making music, and her pop music was better, I think, than the metal stuff.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Best lawsuit in history, apparently.
Yeah, a bunch of former OnlyFans simps are now suing the platform because they found out, shocker, that they weren't, in fact, messaging the models they were subscribed to when they were on the chat service. It is in reality, if you weren't already aware, a bunch of hired middle management, probably from India and Bangladesh and all sorts of other countries. And these are men that are hired by OnlyFans agencies to essentially sext with the OnlyFans simps.
And these guys
pretending
are like,
to be a hot chick.
And these guys are like, look, false advertising. I'm suing you.
How do when they start asking for boobs and vagine? How do you not know?
Well, at that point, that's the interesting thing. They have obviously, pay to play situation where you can pay extra for a private photo, private video, whatever. And they usually just have those like already loaded in a catalog. Those are taken.
They take a ton and then have them
Yeah.
backlogged.
The OnlyFans model is responsible for just actually taking the photos and the videos,
No,
whatever.
I mean
But the OnlyFans agencies have access to all of that and dole it out to the direct messages.
You missed what I was saying when the OnlyFans models start asking the guys for boobs and vagine because it's Indian dudes that are doing the.
Yeah. I
All right.
see.
So-
Yeah, no. I mean, it's like I don't think it's like not false advertising. Like
Look, the judge should take all the money those guys have. They should find in favor of OnlyFans and say the guys that are suing OnlyFans are no longer allowed to have money because they're irresponsible with it.
I have never wanted both sides to lose more than I do right now.
Well, I mean, in the end, the lawyers are who really wins.
2 men are taking legal action against OnlyFans over the claim that the models use chatters to talk to them. I'm surprised, honestly, that they are not using AI exclusively at this point, but most of the time they're using these services that hire out OnlyFans chatters. They are paid by the minute, by the hour, and they're usually less than fluent in English, and they're from developing countries where they're okay with getting paid pennies to do this. And I saw one journalist write a piece about becoming one of these OnlyFans chatters. It is not easy work. It's very demanding and not something that most people want to,
Invest in.
get involved in. It's the dirty work. It's called the dirty work for a reason.
It's a thankless
Just
job, but
diving
somebody's
into the
got. It's
trenches
a dirty
of
job,
mental
but
illness.
somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. So then you essentially are messaging these like OnlyFans addicts. Most of them are. Like, if you're turning to paid platform like that, you're not only a porn addict, but you're specifically addicted to this form of pornography that feels personalized and it feels like a relationship. You have a parasocial relationship with this OnlyFans model. And they are telling these OnlyFans models, or who they believe to be these OnlyFans models, about like, I'm so lonely, like my wife left me, she like took the kids, whatever, like I just lost my job, I'm so depressed, like send ass pics, whatever. Like that's the profile, the psychological profile of the guy who's messaging the OnlyFans model. And you, as the chatter, are expected to triage these crazy people, these simps, and get them to upsell and upsell and upsell on more and more exclusive content.
It's probably pretty.
You
And
know,
it's like a slot machine, basically.
if they win the lawsuit and it creates some type of legal precedent where it has to be the actual OnlyFans performer who does it, it might actually curb the use of the platform because they're like, look, I don't want to
true.
go through all of this work. Or it creates a pricing model that's so high. They're like, look, I can only afford to do it so many hours in the day. I'm going to have to charge an insane amount and only a certain amount of people are going to be able to afford it. Maybe it ends up helping people more than we think.
So this is a class action complaint that you can actually join if you want to. This was actually published back in August last year, and they are, taking names. These are 2 OnlyFans users claiming that the platform allows fraud to take place on its site because models can use third-party services to talk to their subscribers and impersonate them. I cannot believe these men put their names out there, but we have M. Brunner and J. Fry from Illinois claimed they believed the creators they were subscribed to were speaking directly to them in messages and videos. They suspected they were talking to agency chatters and not the real creators when they realized that one individual would not be able to send the volume of genuine DMs or video clips to meet the demand of 700,000 fans.
He's like,
You don't say.
He's like, the math isn't mathing. I finally started to think about it, and I was like,
No freaking way. I mean, mind blown by that. Both of them claim had they known they were not talking with the real model, they wouldn't have subscribed or paid as much money as they did.
Yeah, well, I mean, this does. I mean, that might be actually true because you hear stories of like these dudes, these simps that are like, oh, I gave her $10,000 and like she shook my hand, and then you see the OnlyFans model posting, me and my boyfriend are going on this blah 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 vacation. It's like,
well, okay.
You finance that, homeboy.
That's what they want though. They kind of like want the
It's like a provider fetish.
Yeah. It's that simulation of like providing for them, which the OnlyFans models play into, because then they make these videos like, I bought my first car, I bought my first house, whatever, with money from millions of married men. They say in the lawsuit, one of the plaintiffs created an account. I just love how they're acting like this is so wholesome and innocent. He says he created his account primarily to engage in friendly conversations with the models and share photographs of his cooking creations.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sure it had nothing sordid to do with it at all.
Only
no
pans.
buttholes. Right?
Nothing sexual whatsoever involved in why he wanted to subscribe to these models, I'm sure. It had nothing to do with the nudes. It was just all about friendship and food and love. They say he began to become suspicious of who he was actually communicating with when he got contradictory information and errors within the messages.
Wait, what type of errors?
Like spelling errors. As I said,
look,
these chatters are not from English-speaking countries.
Yeah, but here's the thing, guys. Like, all the women have to do to bypass this is, pretend to be really stupid. Or just be really stupid. And then they're like, look, you saw a bunch of spelling errors. What about me has ever seemed like I was scholarly?
Well, it depends on the amount you want to pay for the third-party service if you're the OnlyFans creator, because there are some high-end ones where the chatters will be specifically trained to impersonate the way you type and your style, the emojis you use.
No capital
your
letters
lingo.
if you don't capitalize.
Right, exactly. Your lingo, the way you punctuate things, the way you spell things, they'll study the way you type so that it's more convincing. But if you want to pay, that's only if you want to pay top dollar. If you're trying to do this on a budget, you're going to be paying some guy who's making a bunch of spelling errors and grammatical errors because he doesn't, speak English.
Yeah.
He's probably using Google Translate. By exercising its discretion to enrich itself while participating in the deception of its customers.
Oddly enough,
OnlyFans consciously and deliberately frustrates the agreed common purposes of the contract and disappoints the reasonable expectations of plaintiffs and class members, depriving them of the benefit of their bargain.
Funnily enough, when I was watching A Working Man, there's a scene where he has to record a guy speaking in Russian and then have it translate. I was like, they just didn't take the shortcut and imagine that Jason Statham, as somebody who worked special forces in Britain, didn't speak Russian. So yeah, they're probably using Google Translate for all of this, and it's just not coming across well.
When you laid it out, the last little bit that you were reading, it made me think they might actually have a legal argument.
Well, yeah,
they
might. Yeah.
Like false advertising. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Well,
they do.
The assumption or the agreement with OnlyFans is it's only fans. You're supposed to be talking to the artist, the person, whatever. You're supposed to actually be able to access them. It's ostensibly that you're really talking to that person, and that might actually be actionable.
No, I agree. I agree that there might actually be action taken on this, but if it were my courtroom, I'd be like, you're a coomer, case dismissed.
You're not allowed.
You
to
deserve
have money
nothing.
Anymore.
You deserve less than nothing. We should actually send you to jail. And the OnlyFans creator that you were subscribed to, you're both going to jail, actually, and you deserve nothing. Both of you can go rot. Yeah. That's what I would say if it were my courtroom.
Setting legal precedent might be enough, though. If you're looking to play the long game and take down aspects of the industry, then you got to play the long game and set some type of legal precedent.
See, it's also a confidentiality issue, because think about the way that these men are just spilling their guts and private information and private photos on the direct messages to what they believe are these women, and it's being shared with hundreds of random people across the globe.
Yep.
So that alone, like, that's probably actionable as well. The confidentiality breach.
Yeah.
And they're just trauma dumping to this, like, random sloot on the internet.
Not even a sloot.
Sloot surrogate.
Random,
Who they believe is a sloot.
Random
They're like,
Haji.
They are trauma dumping to who they believe is a sloot on the internet, which they shouldn't be doing anyway. So of course I will lose no sleep on this. But
like, isn't this kind of the trope of like what men would do when they would get actual prostitutes, which was like sex then trauma dump afterwards? They're skipping the first part. They're skipping the part.
You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
right. Yeah, but that's kind of part of it. You know, they don't want to confront the reality of this person. It's about the artifice.
Yeah, and I would probably make the argument that most of them don't even want the illusion broken. They just want to continue to live in the denial of the situation. It's probably a lot more comfortable that way.
Right, I agree. So, you know, the way things stand now, like, everybody wins, right?
Is it everyone wins or is it everyone loses?
They're getting what they're looking for, is what I'm
Okay.
saying. The OnlyFans creator, she wants money. The subscriber, he wants some fake relationship that he knows deep down is fake.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just,
With all of
they're playing dumb.
With all of the distractions in modern society, it's very easy to push something deep down and not think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
Let's read some super chats. Shane H. Wilder. Have you heard about the GERD? Everybody knows that the GERD is the word. I'm sorry, I'll
I take back
get my
everything
coat
I
and see
said nice
myself
about
out.
you, Shane, earlier. I take it all back now.
Yeah, go see yourself out. James Coderidis said, Phil, come do a set with Killswitch in Maine, April 12th.
No. But I love Killswitch.
Okay. Dakoth said, Andrew's next gal thinking I can fix him.
That's I would actually argue that there's like a certain level of hubris to do something like that, depending on just how bad the person is.
No, 100%.
Like there's actually a cutoff. Okay, so the women who look at a serial killer in jail and think I can fix him, that's just delusional mental illness. But depending on how bad of a person someone is, all the way up to a certain scale, thinking I can fix them, that's just hubris.
I don't know if
Delusion.
they even think like, oh, like Luigi, like I can fix him. They don't really.
No, they don't
think there's something to be fixed.
No. They think that there's nothing to be
He's
fixed.
perfect the way he
They're
is,
valorizing him exactly as he is.
Sketch Therapy said Tate ran a growing gang university in which he admits to and recommends a long list of crimes to control his cam girls. See what he said and did on video. Tate equals Hunter Biden of the right. Same disbelief of crimes on film. Yeah, I, for the most part, kind of believe, like, my gut feeling and from everything I've taken in the information, I believe he is guilty at least of something. Maybe not trafficking, but from the sound of it, he was engaging in sexual activity with
Minors?
minor, like very young minors, and I think that he deserves to face consequences for that.
On Monday, whenever the heck I did IRL last, Tim was talking about how the push towards Andrew Tate for young men is because of the lack of role models that they have. And then the guest brought up Jordan Peterson. He says, yeah, but like you can make fun of Jordan Peterson. And like he's on camera crying. All of these things happen. Young men want to feel strong and they want to feel like you can't F with him. And Andrew Tate's the type of guy where no matter what people say about him, he doesn't care and he just continues on. And that's a very attractive thing to young men who feel displaced in society. So they're willing to kind of hold their nose or be disbelieving of the other things because his type of personality provides a certain sort of armor to a society that's constantly in their face and telling them that they're wrong or they're bad. And there's a certain level of strength to a person like that, even if they're evil.
Yeah, I wonder like what it is about Jordan Peterson that struck such a chord with millennial men and not the same way Andrew Tate struck a chord with Gen Z men.
I think there's a certain like degradation of the entirety of the message. So at that time there's just nobody. There was just nothing.
There's just a vacuum.
There's
there.
nothing until like literally it's as simple as that. It's like there was nobody that was speaking specifically to the problems and the lives of young men in America. Like I've said 100 times, growing up in my generation, I'm 38, like you were told consistently, look, women are going to, there's going to be a female president. The world is changing. Women are going to enter the workforce. And we did a great job as a society of helping women understand that they could do or have whatever they want in society, which was very, very different from the generations before that. But nobody really told men how they were supposed to respond to that. And they just said, if you don't respond to it the right way without telling them what the right way was, you're a bad person. But upsetting something as core to society as traditional gender roles and the way things work, in job spaces, like the makeup of your company, those are big changes. And nobody was really told how to handle that. So nothing in entertainment spoke to them. Nothing in academia spoke to them. Nothing in any of these places did so. And he's giving you very rudimentary ideas of, clean your room, take care of your responsibilities. Don't lie. All things that your dad should be teaching you anyways. But there it was.
Right. Sketch Therapy said disbelievers won't take 2 minutes to see what Tate did. Yeah, there was a lot that he said on camera that I believed was incriminating, but I don't think the charges are dropped in Romania. There was some other reason why he was able to go to the U.S., but I wasn't paying attention to
Well, he's
the
an American
updates.
citizen, isn't he?
Does he have citizenship in the U.S.?
Romania, yes, but Romania wasn't allowing him to leave.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Yes, there was this TikTok that went incredibly viral on X, and in it you see this woman explaining how she almost divorced her husband a while back over a dispute about housework and division of labor in their household and their family. And I am interested to see, first off, what your take is going to be, since you haven't seen the video yet, Brett.
I have not.
For the most part, it is split right down the middle. Some people are saying that this woman is absolutely insane and she's causing all of the problems in her life. Yep. And other people are saying, well, like, you should pay attention to this sentiment because it's reportedly a reason for a lot of divorces that are happening these days, which I believe statistically is true. It speaks to something that you were just talking about, like the new order of society is that women are in the workplace and single income household is a rare thing these days. So she's talking about what it looks like for both spouses with children to have full-time jobs, and what do their jobs look like in the home. So let's just start it off, and we'll probably cut her off like somewhere in the middle.
You said, do you want to start at the beginning or 2:30? I thought you said
the beginning.
You want to start at the very beginning? Okay, here we go.
I've been with my husband for almost 20 years, but about 3 years ago, I was strongly considering divorce, and I want to talk to you about why. So I'm going to tell you the story of the day where I thought to myself, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. My husband and I had 4 kids. We both worked full time. We had been together for 16 years at this point. We've been together since high school. And on paper, I have an amazing husband. He is incredibly supportive. He's kind. He's loyal. He's a great dad. He's very hands-on. He's an active participant. He's always present. Like, on paper, what else could I ask for? But in reality,
that is one of the most black-pilling things you could ever hear, to hear all of those positive things and be said, on paper, he's everything. But
my experience is very similar to the experience of other women. I had this amazing husband who on paper was great, but I was incredibly frustrated and burnt out from our marriage and from motherhood. Because what happens to so many of us is that we marry these amazing men and we have amazing relationships, and then we have kids. And when we have kids, women tend to carry a disproportionate amount of the work in the home, the work of raising kids, and the mental load. And that is exactly what happened to us. About 3 months after my 4th baby was born, I remember looking at my husband and saying, I need more. I need you to do more. I am exhausted. I am in charge of everyone and everything in this house. Every night, When we cook dinner, you ask me what to make. Every day, when you drop off the kids at daycare, you ask me what they need in their backpacks. I am the project manager of this home, and I need you to do more. And he,
Can I ask a question? When she says, "Ask me what to make," is she intimating that he makes it, but he just asks her what it is that they're making?
She did say when we make dinner, so it sounds.
I have
like,
no idea.
Okay.
That also, but I mean, like, I'd be willing to bet anything. When I watched this, the first thing that stuck out is like, I guarantee. If he were to be like, all right, this is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to be done. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And he were the one delineating all the things that are to be done. She would have a problem with that because, well, you're not hearing me. My opinions don't matter. You don't want, blah, 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 blah. This kind of attitude of like, oh, well, I have to make all the decisions. Why is it like that? Is it like that because he's a doormat and you walk all over him? Or is it because he can't make these decisions, because it doesn't seem like he can't make these decisions.
Continue.
Yep.
Okay.
He looked at me and he said, okay, just tell me what to do, right? Every woman has heard this. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I said, okay, something that would make my life easier is if in the mornings when I came downstairs with the 4 kids, because I do mornings by myself, the dishwasher was emptied, the dishes were put away.
Stream good, guys? Oh, please.
Let me check. Looks like the stream is fine.
Okay. We may be. Let's just talk then, because I've got to see if
Is
I can
it
use
not playing?
It's not. I mean, it's gonna be frozen, and just continue on. What did you want to address for this so far?
Well, about like what you were saying, Phil. That is probably true, that if her husband did start managing everything and delineating tasks and delegating them to both of them, like, she would find that domineering or controlling.
Mm-hmm.
But what stood out to me about it the most, honestly, is that's just that crazed look in her eyes.
Her eyes are super wide.
But I guess I wouldn't be one to talk, right? People say I have that too. She looks like the neuroticism of women in society today compact into one person. Like, she looks like embodied neuroticism.
Does this get into like weaponized
the entire
incompetence?
female gender?
Is he weaponized incompetence? Is that what she's saying?
Is the video just not gonna play?
We can see if it'll keep playing here.
Because I think there was more to it that we should address.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fact of the matter is, what she's telling you is not the whole story. There's all kinds of things that are being rumored to be. There are all kinds of rumors surrounding this. First of all, and second of all, you don't even hear the man's side. So it's literally only her side. It's only the way that she wants to present it. And she's putting it on the internet for a specific reason.
Here are all the things people were saying about it. They're saying the chick in the video is a sex worker. No idea if that's true. They're saying this chick was peddling payday loans.
I think people were saying that the woman who posted it is not the same as the woman who...
But they're saying both.
Yeah.
They're saying the woman who posted the video is a sex worker and the woman who is in the video is a sex worker, that the woman in the video is peddling payday loans, that her husband is a lineman. Mm-hmm. They're saying that she makes more money than her husband. They're also saying that her husband makes more money than her. They're saying that her husband works longer hours than her. But they also say that she quit her job to become an influencer. And they say that both of them are like these marriage coaches now or something bizarre like that. I have no idea what the context is. Did you just lose it?
Let's see if we can...
For their favorite water bottle in the dishwasher. I just need to know.
Is this where we were?
Yeah. And he said, yeah, of course. What? Yeah,
no,
I'll
this
do that.
is like way
dear, because
past
when I've got
where
the
we
4
were.
kids running around and the baby crying, I can't be looking for their...
So we're farther back?
Yes.
In the mornings when I came downstairs with the 4 kids, because I do mornings by myself, the dishwasher was emptied, The dishes were put away and the trash was taken out. That would make my life so much easier, because when I've got the 4 kids running around and the baby crying, I can't be looking for their favorite water bottle in the dishwasher. I just need to know it's clean. And he said, yeah, of course. What? Yeah, I'll do that. That's no problem. And so, of course, he does it. But then I have to remind him, and then he forgets, and then I have to remind him again. And there was this one morning where I woke up and I went to put something in the trash.
Perfect.
And it was overflowing.
Unbelievable.
And I went to get my son's water bottle, and it was in the dishwasher with all of the other clean dishes. And I felt so disrespected and unseen and unvalued at that point in time. And I remember texting my husband being like, what happened? Like, why didn't you do this? And he said, sorry, I was running late for work. And I remember thinking, oh my God, he doesn't see me. Because what he's done has now made me late for work. And he doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about the impact on me. And he doesn't see how every single thing in our home happens because I ask him to do it, or because I do it myself, or because I planned and organized it. The diaper bag is full because I filled it, right? I put the wipes in there. And I felt so frustrated. And I remember thinking, what's the point? What's the point of doing this with someone else? I might as well just do it alone. And it's not because my husband didn't love me or he did anything to me, and it's not because I didn't love him, but because I felt so taken advantage of in our relationship. And this dynamic, it doesn't happen by accident, right? It's not like my husband did it to me, but we've been raised in this society that tells men and women who they should be in marriages and what
it literally doesn't do that anymore. Like, all of the propaganda now is the opposite of that.
Yep.
Well, to counterpoint that, I think what women are told they need to be in marriages is both things at once.
Okay. So,
do you understand what I'm saying?
yes, I do.
So that's why she's insane. That's why she is crazy. That will drive her crazy. That makes perfect sense to me.
What I would imagine,
she's trying to do the whole, like, everything when she
the things
shouldn't.
that she loves about him, the things that make the relationship work, for him to do the things that she's talking about here, he would have to be as neurotic as her, and then I'm guessing the relationship would fail on multiple fronts. If she is neurotic and detail-oriented in her family life, and they're both like that, they're going to step on each other's toes, and it's going to cause friction in other places. And what I think also the language of "I don't feel seen" is so suitably modern and stupid that people will get lost on a word like that.
It's therapy jargon.
It's therapy speak for something like that. I don't know.
I don't know if you really, like, understand what I mean. I think that what women are told they need to be is both the provider and caretaker of the household. Or else they aren't doing it all, which is what you have to do.
So who's telling them that? Like, you're just saying the, like, society in general?
This is the aspiration for women, is that they do it all and have it all. But that's why she's crazy.
So the idea that we expect women to be able to be full-time at their job and also raise kids, I guess,
not, like, be crazy at the same time. Those you can actually do both of those things, but you cannot do it while not crazy.
I don't know.
It's a triangle thing. You can be not crazy. You can be the one who's focused on domestic needs and the children. You can be the provider, but you can only pick two.
Who is mowing the lawn? Who's doing the yard work? Who's taking care of the cars? Like, there are things like, also all of this is immediately just pointless to me because putting it on the internet automatically makes me hate it.
We have
like,
a 20
turning this
Shanice
into
Wilder.
something for everybody to talk about is automatically stupid.
Okay, what does the guy do? Does he mow the lawn, wash the cars, do household repairs? Maybe allow the man to lead the household. Guess what? There can still be female input because that is what leading a household entails. I mean, I think that if it's that much of an issue and they both make 6 figures at their jobs, like, why don't you just pay someone clean your house?
I mean, she said
it's not
like,
that complicated.
One of the things they said is that they had, like, a nanny.
Yeah, get that
okay, yeah.
and someone to clean the house and You know, you can even pay a person to do all the things you just listed, like clean the car and do the house repairs and do the car repairs. You can pay people to do all of those things.
That's why I'm not buying it.
So, I mean, I think that she is
just making the
driving
video,
herself crazy.
Just making the video is such an insult that, like, this is not for public consumption.
But they're in
is.
on this kind of business model together. So
then he's stupid too.
I think they're both crazy in their own way.
I'm actually shocked that the marriage has lasted as long as it has. If the idea here is that you're going to make content that specifically shames your partner under the guise of, like, I was feeling this emotionally, so I made this content. I want to see his video, okay, where he's like, I was going to mow the lawn. Okay, and I said to my wife on the way home, look, there's a gas can in the back of your car. Can you get me a gallon of gas for the mower? And she got home, and she's like, look, I had to pick up Johnny from karate, and I didn't have time to get the gallon of gas. I'm sorry. And he's like, I don't feel seen. Okay, I have the lawn to mow. After I mow the lawn, I've got to I got to go do stuff on the roof. I have to get stuff out of the gutters, and then I have to take Sammy to soccer practice. And now I'm late for Sammy's soccer practice because she didn't have the respect for me to go and get a gallon of gas at the gas deli. Like, and I'm not saying that that's what she did. I'm saying that men don't make, like, actual men don't make content like this. And
I've never seen it.
It would actually be an insult to all men to make content like this. And I think one of the things that would benefit men, and I'm sorry to say for her, is like if he had done the same. Okay, if he had said, look, I have to be to work early tomorrow. Okay, I got to get up early. I got to go. What did he say? He was like a lineman. Like, he's like, I got to go do back-breaking labor tomorrow. Can you have this done? Can you have this dish out? Because I want to eat something before I go to work. And she forgot to do it because she was taking care of the kids. The guy might be annoyed, but I guarantee you it just rolls off him and he just says, I got to fix it. And that, what she is considering to be disrespectful actually benefits him because it rolls off of him and he won't hold it as a grudge. He won't hold it in and hold it against her the way she will with him. Women have elephant memories. And it will come back to bite him, and oddly enough, will leave her less happy because she won't be able to.
Like, his mistake, if there is one, is that, you know, you just probably shouldn't say that you're gonna do something unless you actually will.
Like, marry her.
Do it.
But the thing to
like,
then,
why would he say
every conversation
that he would do it?
Then there's an argument there. Then he says no, and she goes, "Why can't you do just this thing?"
So
for
then,
me?
but then. Make everyone's life easier. Say, I cannot commit to doing that. We will pay someone to do that. Like, literally, like, just pay someone to do it. Then
I mean, then we have to operate under the assumption that they have the money to do it. Okay. Well, I mean that's a third option that's less likely. Okay,
but it's
if he says, look, honey, I don't know if I'm going to remember, she's gonna be like, I asked you to do this one little thing. And you can't even do that.
She seems freaking nuts, and she looks crazy.
Yeah, she does.
And
seem nuts.
Honestly, I think that she's one of those types of women who just gets a sick thrill out of her own misery.
Yeah.
And, like,
women coalesce around it.
Yeah, commiseration is actually, like, proven to be one of the favorite, like, bonding exercises between women.
That's why this type of content is so powerful for women.
And that's why it should have never ended up on a social media platform. But, like, there are, especially in, like, online mom culture, so many women who really need to feel like what they do as a mom is meaningful by creating a martyrdom complex around it.
The Bill Burr skit about motherhood not being the hardest job in the world. You should go back and listen to it.
Thank you.
He's like, lift with your knees and put the clothes into the machine that does it for you.
But I mean, it's sentiments like that that make those women feel like it actually is, like, valueless to be a mother.
Mm-hmm. You mean like society doesn't value it?
So how are they gonna, like, transpose some kind of, like, actual value onto it? Well, like, they're gonna have to create some kind of dramatic narrative where they're a victim or a martyr.
I
And
look
they
at
have
this.
to be like hyper neurotic all the time.
That's the thing. Like, so the thing is like it takes a decent amount of neuroticism to make sure that you hit every goal and everything that you say that you're going to do every single time. But neuroticism for men manifests in a different way.
Well,
Right?
they just don't have as much of it.
And it depends. Like, he might be extremely neurotic in his job because his job is what allows them to, I mean, like, I guess in this case, they both work together, right? But like, his job is what allows him to pay for the dishwasher and the food and stuff like that. So he may be extremely neurotic in his work, and he has to let that off when he gets home. Otherwise, it's too much. And I don't know if necessarily. And then we could have the discussion about like the idea that a lot of work these days is like adult daycare for some people.
Yeah.
Like if she's at a job and she's not neurotic at her job and it comes out at home, she makes content about it. For him, he's neurotic at work and as a way of coping doesn't have that as part of who he is at home. And that's a certain amount of
Oh, that's that literally
compartmentalization.
like. I just feel like if you're both working full time, that and it's both outside of the home. This is an arrangement that has never existed before, and you're gonna need to create a way to do it that has never existed before. That's why people are pissed off at each other right now.
And in this type
It makes perfect sense.
and this type of content is
right?
is extremely prevalent
so.
in society now.
Like, you're both working full time. And whether or not you elected to do that and you didn't have to, whatever, you decided that was worth it.
Yeah.
Well, then, are you going to both do equal amounts of house
No,
work
No.
or not?
they're not.
Well, then what's the solution?
Again, life is not
What is
just
the solution then other than paying someone, like third party to do it for you?
Complain on the internet, clearly.
Like, I don't understand what we do here.
Again, this is it's like Phil said earlier, one side of the argument. What are his responsibilities that she has nothing to do with? Does he shovel the driveway every night or every morning in the winter so that she can get out of the driveway and go to work? Does he mow the lawn all summer? Does he trim the hedges? Does he do stuff outside? Like, there's a million things beyond just housework that make owning a home or, being a family in a home happen. Right? Like, but you're never going to hear the other side because the guys making that type of content would get mocked mercilessly and it would be hilarious.
Yeah, I mean,
Except for that one guy remember that guy who filmed his wife shoveling the driveway outside do you remember that?
She truly loves him. Yeah, I do remember
That was insane.
Yeah.
He was like, wow, I love my wife. She's willing to do this for me. I was like, you are pathetic.
Yeah.
All right, let's do super chats.
Okay. Where do we leave off? Greg Duvier. Brett, please tell me this is not real. I just saw a trailer for the Naked Gun reboot starring Liam Neeson. No, please no. Is this real?
It is real. I have not watched it yet. I did see it, but that is a movie that they're making.
Seth Essington said, I love trance music with a passion.
When I was coming home the other night, it was very late from IRL, and I had to get gas on the way home, and they were just trance music in the parking lot. It was a vibe at like 12:30 at night. I was like,
No, Sheets is always playing like really good music
I was
for
like,
some reason.
let's go.
You were at a Sheets
yeah.
night, yeah.
Like, I was like, if somebody had just started.
Like, I feel like Ryan Gosling right now.
If smoke started coming down and like neon lights started playing, I'd have started dancing.
Yeah. James Coteridis said Sweeney's a couple door knockers away from average. I wouldn't say her face is average. I would say her face is above average. And, there's more to it than that. It's a vibe. James Coteridis said, during the Phil Switch tour of Days Gone By, which Howard song was most challenging to perform? Can we get a Mary Brett feature on the next All That Remains video?
Probably not about
It's too
getting
bad.
Mary and Brett on an All That Remains video.
I don't think we fit the vibe.
Most
Yeah, I don't know.
challenging to perform. I don't know. There's this one part in My Last Serenade that the vocals come in a spot that I always had a real tough time getting the coming in on the right spot correctly. So it would probably be Last Serenade just because of that one spot.
Questionable content said, Brett, I was so happy to hear you mention Bridge on IRL the other day. Please keep bringing it up. Too many people don't even know how important it is.
That's what they're shifting away from DEI and
Bridge.
I don't even remember what it stands for, but it's the
I'll
same
have to look into
concept,
this.
yeah.
I thought it was a card game.
It's just the new facade
It is.
for the same thing.
Yeah.
Shane H. Wilder said, I don't think they'll work out. If the doll were an actual gentleman, he would have paid for the Starbucks. So true.
I mean, men these days, they're just trash. Look, they're
Yeah.
not paying for their Starbucks date. They're forgetting sippy cups in the what was it? Was it
In the
sippy cup in the dishwasher?
Yeah.
I mean, men,
Sad.
trash.
Sad state of the world. Wyatt Kaldenberg said, how many decades do you guys think this insanity can go on before the West collapses or another nation
Not
conquers
many.
us? Or do you believe this cesspool can keep rotting forever? I
Not
can't
many
see
at
it
all.
lasting.
Not many decades.
What insanity were we talking about when that came
he's
up?
talking about
Adolescence?
The way that, he's talking about the way that Western society has become, doesn't have the it seems like he's talking about the way that Western society doesn't have the intestinal fortitude to actually stand up for itself. If you look at what's going on in the UK and stuff, it's like they don't actually stand up for British values, liberal values. You see a lot of democracies are jailing the right-leaning parties because they're getting populist parties because they're getting elected and stuff. So those kind of things actually, you can't for very long, because if the population is ostensibly a democracy and then the population sees that the people in charge are actually jailing their political opponents, then they're going to say, well, that's not the kind of democracy that we want, and your democracy is all BS. So we'll go with the other party, and we'll vote for the strong man. We'll install a strong man that will at least give us consistency that we can rely on.
I don't have an answer to that question. I'm willing to say that I don't know. Shane H. Wilder said, every time Netflix does one of these shows like Adolescence, it is always cringy propaganda. Remember 13 Reasons Why? No one would shut up about it. Yeah, that was a huge show. Like, supposedly about suicide awareness, but it was really just salacious garbage.
And became a meme to say, this is my 13th reason.
That was its only contribution to
That
the
last
culture.
topic was my 13th reason.
Yeah. Gordon, what?
I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay.
I was watching an interview earlier with Samoa Joe on Chris Van Vliet, and he actually does the thing where he's talking, and he kind of starts answering the question, and he stops, he goes, give it to me again.
Gordon Shumway said the UK is being outbred by Muslim and Indian immigrants. In a few decades, their culture will be very different than it is now, and it probably will not be very friendly to women. Yeah, it's looking increasingly likely, if not inevitable. DCNC said Brits are pretty funny for thinking their culture is superior to everyone else's, but Yanks to do the same. Real ones know Australia is where it's at.
There's marginal difference between the British, the Americans, and the Australians.
That's not true.
That is absolute.
Americans
When you compare-
are
when you com-
descended from the best of Europe.
Well, if you
The
look at the
most
way that the United
Daring,
States
adventurous
Yeah.
and
Europeans
the UK,
ever.
if you look at the UK, the culture in the UK, in the United States, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, they're so similar when you compare them to any other countries. Like the
Similar in
the
because
way
our
that
government system is very different.
not compared to Saudi Arabia.
Well, you could say that about like all
That's the point that
European
I'm making. Is
nations that
the point that I'm making is the United States, Western countries are very similar, and the countries that basically spawned from the UK are the most similar out of all of the countries in the world.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're not that dissimilar
Well, I guess except for
when taken in context.
Islamic theocracies.
Well, no, because China's
They're more
way
similar to each
different.
other.
All of Asia's different. You talk to Michael Malice about the way that the Russians are compared to the way that Westerners are, and they're incredibly different. I think that people don't give enough or people don't realize how similar in the context of the whole world, how similar the U.S., the U.K., Canada is.
Well, for the record, Australia is not where it's at. You're gonna live with gigantic tropical spiders,
Australia,
kangaroos that want to punch you in the face, and
everything
then,
in Australia wants to kill you. Yes.
Yeah, and then the government also wants to kill you.
Yes.
And they also have insane amounts of immigration too. Pop Culture Junkie says OnlyFans founder and former CEO Tim Stokely has made a bid for TikTok WTF.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yep. And Amazon as well.
crazy.
It is weird. I
Wait, so Amazon made a bid for TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay.
I tweeted earlier, I said, like, there's absolutely zero fanfare about the upcoming supposed ban again. Like, why doesn't anybody care this time around?
It's weird, right?
Why was it such a big issue before, but now all of a sudden
It's because
everyone's like,
it lined up with the inauguration.
Yeah.
With
I mean, I
inauguration
care. I want somebody to buy it, because how are we going to do amazing topics about women like this if we don't have TikTok?
Yeah. Then we'll have a drought of content. Francisco Sanchez Jr. said, America is heading the way of the UK. It will just take longer. Look into the whole Epic City thing in Texas. I think this adolescence show is pure propaganda, whitewashing stabbings in the UK.
Look, even if you take the racial element out of it, the subject matter in general is so, again, look at those tweets that analyze like the idea of what an incel is and the idea of being an incel at 13. Like, it's just ridiculous. And I don't know if it's even necessarily just the racial element mainly came up because the director was stupid enough to give have that comment about, I took real world examples. And that's, and then people
then
are like,
when you look at the real world
Yeah.
examples, you're like,
but if they
oh.
just made the show and the kid just looked like that, but just happened to be who he was, then people wouldn't have necessarily drawn that conclusion.
Right. DCNC said, when are you exposing the OF chatters, Mary? What title are you going to give your book on it? No spoilers, but
How would you come up with a name for that?
You're writing a book, Mary?
deep into reading about this stuff. I'm not like writing a book. I'm writing things
That
somewhere.
will become a book.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? Ulvin McGoth said, I just find free pics of whatever scene I have in my head and then start shaking away the one-eye snake.
That's disgusting. You should stop.
Okay, that's weird. Wyatt Kaldenberg said, OF users sound like they have a mental illness. They self-identify as the boyfriends of OF models. Crazy, it is illegal to con mentally ill people.
Well, I think you'd have to have an actual diagnosis of mental illness for that to work.
Yeah. There's a difference between like mental illness and just being a sucker.
A fool and his money are easily parted.
Shane H. Wilder said, not all the jokes can be bangers, lol.
That's true.
You try, and we appreciate that.
Yes.
Pop Culture Junkie said, there is a Swedish UFO movie that has been processed through a new AI system that takes the original actors reading in English and manipulates lip movements so it looks like they're speaking English.
Yeah, I looked at producer Patrick had a good Instagram video about that. There was that, and then there's an even crazier one of they've got like one of these robots like doing camera work now. Like they're literally coming for your job. It's a robot doing Steadicam.
That's crazy.
That's
It's like a Boston Dynamics robot doing the
Well,
camera
it's like,
work.
I get that all of this is happening, whatever, but then I try to like use, Grok for something and it still sucks. And I'm like, yeah, maybe it's not as soon as we think.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's why they're telling you now. They're like, if you're an artist, start learning these programs.
Yeah, and also
start learning it now. Otherwise, you're going to go by the wayside.
That's a great point he's making. They're extremely efficient and produce things incredibly well, but you do have to know how to talk to it. You have to know how to use it.
Yeah, that's annoying. I'll just not.
One of the other things
that's
is
like being like, oh, I turned on my computer and it didn't automatically do what I wanted. Well, you don't know how to program the program an app to do it, or you don't know how to talk to your computer.
It was like I bought a new Dremel the other day and had to like it's different from the one I used to have. I'm like, fuck, I have to like read instructions and figure out how to set up. But to the point he's making is like I was actually having a conversation with a friend the other day, about like, because of the way that like skating is done now, so many people, like if you go skate by yourself, you don't have like somebody filming you. And a lot of content now is just done on tripods, or if you do like what I do, which is like you zoom with keyframes in your program and everything looks mechanical and precise in a way that actual human filming doesn't. And actual cinematography or actual filming of skating by somebody with a camera freehand has a unique look now that you took for granted 10 years ago, because so much stuff now is done differently.
Cesario JPN, through several streams, Metallica is one of the best bands ever. Are we forgetting Lars Ulrich's PR disaster that was the Napster controversy?
You know, it was a PR disaster, but in substance, Lars was absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So, yes, it was a PR disaster. It looked bad when it came, you know, according to the people that were around. But the changes that have come because of digitizing music, that first it was just copying and sharing, but now the way that streaming is and stuff, he was absolutely right. Everything he said was right.
Dylan Dishner said, I saw something that said the husband is a power line worker, big if true, LMAO.
Yeah, he's a lineman apparently.
A lot of people were saying a lot of things.
She's like, look, I answer emails all day. Nobody talks about my carpal tunnel.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true that these people were saying she makes porn. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either, but
Omega Red Fan said, the good, the bad, the gongo. PCC.
Aw.
That's sweet. Gordon Shumway said, a neurotic woman, Mary, say it ain't so. This woman has control freak written all over her. My guess is whatever he does without asking how exactly she wants it done is wrong, and she is insufferable.
And he's weaponizing his incompetence. And he's like, yeah, but have you ever had a cold?
What?
She's like, I gave birth to 4 kids. He's like, yeah, but have you ever had a cold?
Yeah. It's true.
That's about how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
Daykoth said, Mary is trying to explain Schrodinger's feminist. She's both empowered and oppressed and chooses which will benefit her at the time.
I will. You want me to read the rest? I'll get the rest. Corn Pop says, repeal the 19th, right, Mary?
Mary would say mostly.
Still, I mean, not mostly. Like, yes, I believe that. Is it relevant?
No.
Probably not. It's just never going to happen.
Shane H. Wilder says, everything in Australia can kill you? Arnar. That's true. Ben says, Mary is looking extra merry today.
Why does that sound rude?
You can read your shirt.
High Voltage 75 says, yes, a fool and his money are easily parted. Here, have a super chat. Thank you. DCNC says, can confirm, scariest thing in Australia are the Karens.
You have Karens over there?
Javier Bernal says, VTuber, is that Kirsch? White Fox has many bridge videos. Maybe I will check it out. DCNC says, Mary, you do a pretty good impression of sound like you were sick yesterday. Is they want you to say that?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what any of it means either.
Okay, well there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go, would you all hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new here? Remember, 1 like equals 1 sippy cup left in the dishwasher. That's right.
1 sippy cup for the Congo.
Exactly. Phil, where can they find?
Junkie says, Mary, hope you're back to 100% soon. I hope so too. Yeah.
Phil.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. New record dropped on January 31st. It's called Anti-Fragile. You can check it out on the streaming platforms. And don't forget, the left lane is for crying.
All right, one more from Shane H. Wilder as everybody coughs. He says, get better, Mary. Try some Fisherman's Friend for that cough.
Thank you.
Those are good.
Yeah.
I will try to get better. You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived.
Why do you never do the validation or hate part on IRL?
Just takes a long time.
I go through my big old long spiel. Nobody gives a crap.
I don't know. I don't want to go on a big long spiel.
Yeah, there you go.
Fine.
All right. You guys want to follow me, Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. This show is here, guys, usually 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than watch the show, you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. That also helps. If you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. One more from DCNC says the coughing is just setting up future sick days. Hashtag fake sick.
You can just say that you missed me. It's
Yeah.
okay.
I was actually, if you guys want to listen to a great Weird Al song that doesn't get a lot of play or people don't remember, Calling in Sick, it sounds like Nirvana, Come As You Are. It's amazing. You should go listen to it. We will be back with another episode tomorrow, guys. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.